Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's newscast. Starting off with wars and rumors of war. Last week on Monday, December 1st, Bahrain's foreign minister says the Gulf states, that is the Saudi Arabia and eastern Yemen area, are launching a joint military command based in Saudi Arabia to counter threats from military jihadis and Shia Iran. The Joint Command Force, which analysts say will eventually have several 100,000 soldiers under its control, would begin military operations after a Gulf Cooperation Council summit to take place later this month in Qatar. Then on Tuesday, December 2nd, Shabaab militants from Somalia killed 36 quarry workers in northern Kenya, prompting Kenya's president to announce a security shakeup, firing his interior minister and accepting the resignation of the national police chief. A Libyan National Army warplane, that is a MiG-21 fighter, bombed an ammunition depot in an ISIS-controlled area in the town of Zuwara, some 120 kilometers west of the capital, Tripoli. Then on Wednesday, December 3rd, Iran has denied conducting airstrikes against Islamic State targets in Iraq. Quote, Iran has never been involved in any airstrikes against the Daesh targets in Iraq. Note, Daesh is another name for ISIS. Any cooperation in such strikes with America is also out of question for Iran, close quote, a senior official told the news agency on condition of anonymity. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, also known as Ansar al-Sharia, claimed responsibility on Wednesday evening for a remote detonated car bomb which exploded outside the Iranian ambassador's residence in Sana'a around 9 a.m. One person was killed and 17 others were injured in the attack. Ansar al-Sharia claimed responsibility on their Twitter account and posted photos of the scene following the attack. Then, on Thursday, December 4th, gunmen stormed a building in Chechny's regional capital of Grozny, killing 16 people, including 10 police officers, just hours before President Vladimir Putin vowed in a policy speech to defend Russia against what he called efforts to dismember it. Islamic State militants launched an attack overnight on a major military airbase in eastern Syria in what looked like a push to eliminate the last significant government outpost in the extremist-dominated region. The airfield just outside the city of Deir el-Zor is a key military facility for President Bashar Assad, giving his warplanes a hub from which to bomb ISIS-held cities and towns across much of eastern Syria. For ISIS, capturing the airport would eliminate the main pocket of resistance in the area and provide a major morale and propaganda boost after a string of setbacks in recent weeks. Then on Friday, December 5th, an assault in Baidoa began when a suicide bomber detonated explosives outside the popular National Bar and Restaurant, a locale frequented by locals and journalists. BBC Somalia reported the dead included 2 journalists with London-based Somali TV organizations. And only 10 minutes after the attack, a car bomb exploded nearby. Militants in the disputed territory of Kashmir, India, attacked an army camp, triggering a fierce gun battle that left 11 soldiers and 6 suspected assailants dead. At least 3 other deadly attacks were launched elsewhere Friday in the region, where local elections are being held throughout the month of December. Then on Saturday, December 6th, At least 4 FARC fighters and an army sergeant were killed in violent clashes in rural zones of 2 departments southwest of Colombia. And on Sunday, December 7th, Israeli aircraft bombed a military complex on the outskirts of Damascus's international airport in what Syrian state television said was an attack on warehouses housing an advanced Russian-made anti-aircraft system. Could this be signs of Isaiah 17 beginning its prophetic fulfillment of the destruction of Damascus? Turning to America, the killing of 28-year-old Akai Gurley, who was gunned down last month by a police officer in a darkened public housing stairwell in Brooklyn, is the latest in an avalanche of deadly police actions across America. This outbreak of protests began on Wednesday, December 3rd, when a New York grand jury refused to bring charges against white officer Daniel Pantaleo in the death of a 43-year-old black father of 6, Eric Garner, who was being arrested on suspicion of selling cigarettes illegally. On Thursday, December 4th, in Phoenix, Arizona, another unarmed black man was shot dead by a white police officer during a scuffle, leading to protests in that city. And last month, a Missouri grand jury chose not to indict Darren Wilson, a white policeman, for the killing of an 18-year-old unarmed black man, Michael Brown, in the St. Louis suburb of Ferguson. The decisions by grand juries in Ferguson and New York not to indict white police officers have angered ordinary Americans and human rights experts alike. Satan's work to create civil wars and dissension between races and nations is exploding right in front of our eyes. If it's not the wars in the Middle East, it's all of these upsetting scenes we see here in America. Senior White House and State Department officials have recently met to discuss the possibility of imposing sanctions on Israel in an effort to stop housing construction projects in eastern Jerusalem. The Israel sanctions discussions began after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the White House in October and clashed with the administration over the construction of a new housing development in that part of the city. The administration warned Israel that the project would raise questions about Israel's commitment to peace with the Palestinians. But Netanyahu replied that Israel does not accept restrictions on where Jews can live and that Arabs and Jews in the Israeli capital should be allowed to buy homes wherever they choose. Obama is placing sanctions against Israel while at the same time lifting them from Iran. This is an act of opposing the Jewish state's existence. And this is an act that brings greater judgment from the Father against America. Oil prices are dropping as they did just prior to the previous recession. China has become the world's leading financial power and is escalating its military prowess, and will be joining Russia next year with military rehearsals. And Russia has been puffing its chest lately, boasting about its nuclear capabilities. Obama secretly building an international economic program, and Putin is racing against him with the same agenda. They're both competing for the headship of the New World Order. Tie all of these things in with the UN wanting Israel to give up its nuclear abilities, to allow international control over their weaponry, and the Father's prophecies about end times and Israel being a heavy stone to the whole world is unfolding at an alarming pace, my friends. And that is the news for this week. Abba willing, I'll see you here next week. And until then, stay safe. Shalom, my friends.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you, underneath a naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, entering the quantum breeze, flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.